Hello and welcome back to Reality Check. My name is Rachel Mwine. I'm your host today and we are delighted to have you back again with us. If you are new here, consider subscribing to our channel. Would love to have you join the Reality Check family. For our old subscribers, welcome back. We have another exciting conversation in store for you. This channel cares for hearts and minds, and we have conversations on mental health in the areas of family, in marriage, your relationships, the workplace, parenting, because we know how daunting that can be, and your general overall well-being as an individual. I'm joined by Dr. Ivas. Dr. Ivas is the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care, and she's also a therapist. Again, supports in areas of marriage, relationships, parenting, also offers marriage counseling, both pre and post. And so if you need support, please do take advantage of the numbers on your screen and look out for her at the International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. We're going to get into our conversation today. It was inspired by a comment that was left underneath one of our episodes. And this is what the person said. I left her name out for reasons of anonymity. But she said, "Thank you so much for a great show. Please talk about boundaries in marriage. Female best friends for a husband and male best friends for a wife, and how they are part of modern day challenges in marriage." I couldn't agree more. So welcome to the show. Welcome, Dr. Ivas.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So female best friends for husbands, male best friends for wives. I think this begs the conversation or question on boundaries in marriage, and I want to start by asking you, can a couple have best friends of the opposite sex?
100%.
100%. Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay?
It's okay.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Do
okay.
share.
You can still have, did you say best friends?
Yes, best
Am I
friends.
answering a question I didn't hear well?
No. I said best friends.
You see, friendships, just like all human relationships, are governed by invisible boundaries.
This is true.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And boundaries are seen in what we say, how we relate, how we connect. We are going to talk about words. And we can have friends
Of the opposite sex.
of the opposite sex, and it is still fine. Friendships and relationships are about how we conduct them. It's not more how
whether we should have them
we
or
relate
not.
with,
Yes.
or whether we should have them. I should mention at the start of this show that human beings, we are created to interact and connect. But every relationship, I mentioned boundaries, but boundaries are based on expectations. Okay? So the relationship I have with Rachel is defined by expectations.
True.
There's a set of expectations that govern every relationship. I have, I'm a therapist. I have clients. When someone comes in as a client, we have a relationship. We call it a therapeutical relationship. And it is okay. So when he comes in, he's a male, I'm female, I'm conducting a therapy session, it's governed by expectations. And that will determine who you are in my life, in this relationship.
Yes.
And so, because of that, we can relate with any. But number one, expectations. Number two, boundaries. Okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if expectations spill into another zone, that's where there is a problem.
Yes.
Okay? So I think for now,
that makes a lot of sense. So what exactly is it about opposite sex friendships that triggers insecurity? And I know it's probably hinged on expectations and boundaries, but I want you to explain it. Why do we feel insecure when our partners have friends or best friends of the opposite sex?
Several reasons, but central. The central reason to this is that when, and I think I've addressed it in one of our conversations, but you see, intimate relationships are governed by the fact that all of us, and I will say it again, every human being in an intimate relationship expects exclusivity. No one in this world wants to share a partner in an intimate relationship. Now, I don't care how innovative and creative some people are. Bottom line is that each person wants to have a partner for themselves. And this is not selfish. No, this is not selfish. That's the relationship that God ordained, that we would have a partner for you.
Yes.
Now, I'm emphasizing this because every other day I'm dealing with cases of errant behavior where people are everywhere and they're saying, what's wrong
with that?
So won't I greet people? Oh, you know that
I just
kind
said
of,
hello.
I just said just. But you see, the thing is exclusivity. We all want to have a partner for ourselves.
Sure.
Now, even where people are going different directions, they still expect their partner to be faithful to them. Right? We've run a conversation on
Infidelity,
encroachment.
Yes.
You know, people who are wrecking people's relationships.
Yes.
But it's very interesting that even the person who has
been unfaithful.
Yes. Someone who has stolen a partner also expects them to be faithful to them.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So this is in our human nature, and it's rooted in the divine nature. Yeah. When you read scripture in Genesis, this man, a partner, one partner for them, not wives. Not husbands. So it is in our nature, and I'll mention this again. We have to take pride in what nature has already given. Divine nature has already given to us. You see, so that's where it's rooted. So so number two, Rachel, is that the number one need for any person in an intimate relationship is security. So security is rooted in exclusivity.
Wow. Okay.
Okay? So we all come to marriage with a level of insecurity. Now, I've heard people say, you're paranoid. Why are you insecure? But you see, every person has a level of insecurity. It may not be the same. It varies from individual to individual. But every person comes to relation with a level of insecurity.
Yeah.
Now, this is again related to what I mentioned in one of the shows, that marriage or intimate relations are such a huge investment.
They are.
You see? Now, any person who has some business mind knows that when we get into business, there is a risk involved.
Yep.
Now, because there is a risk involved, we run insecure. We're like, you know, you don't pour all your millions of money in a business venture and then go home, sleep, and you have nothing comfortably. No. You see, you're going to be thinking, you're going to invest emotional resources into this. And so we get insecure. We are always hoping it works.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So because of that, because you have not just put a little bit, you've put your life into another person's life. You see, that's the biggest huge investment anyone will ever make. So for anyone to feel insecure is understood.
It's understandable.
It's understandable. And so it's not to be accused and told, you know.
You're being insecure.
No, accuse them of being insecure. Why are you? No, it's normal. However, how we act on that insecurity is another issue. Is what matters. And therefore, because we have that deposit of insecurity, we are going to be alert. When you see something that points to the fact that someone is crossing boundaries and they are stepping into an area that is probably not supposed to be theirs, they are trading words that are not supposed to be for a certain relationship. You see that?
Yes.
That's where we started from.
Yes, yes.
So you're going to feel, what's going on here?
You're going to feel threatened.
You're going to feel threatened.
Yeah.
Again, that is okay. And because we encourage conversation in relationships, then it is okay for someone to say, I feel insecure, you know, when you said this to this person. Because essentially we are saying, someone seems to be unseating me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why boundaries are important.
Yeah.
And that's why we can relate with any person. So what are the expectations, therefore, in this relationship? It's that I'm number one in your life. I'm the most important person in your life. I remember one time I was speaking to a lady who said the husband gives gifts. And she had a phone. You know, we are always running after latest series. And so she had the latest
Is it iPhone?
iPhone. No, so she had iPhone 14. And then the husband bought iPhone 15 for a friend, and a female friend. And her phone, she told me, her phone was a gift from her auntie. So the husband last bought her
A phone.
iPhone, I think, was it 11 or what? I don't follow those things. But but do you see, what does that make her feel? So in relationships, all relationships, but especially intimate relationships, it's what we do and what we don't do. How does it make my partner feel?
Yeah.
Does it feed into the list of expectations? Because if someone is your partner, they expect without a doubt that they are number one.
That's true.
So if they are number one and you're doing things of number one with other person, whether it's your mother, whether it's your brother, whether it's your dad, it's going to create a sense of insecurity because it communicates that this person is not priority in your life.
That is so true. And I think there are people who ignore that. I don't know why, because when somebody tells you this thing that you're doing is making me feel insecure, our first response is usually,
defensive.
Yeah, you're overreacting, you know, like, why would you think that? And you talk about casualness in relationships, and I want you to talk about casualness in this particular area and how those relationships with outsiders, where you're putting someone else first, is likely to impact a relationship.
You see, Rachel, there is a saying that every level requires a different you. Now, once again, so I'm going to talk about casualness, but also I'm going to talk about this danger of being stuck in the old level, where you don't measure up to the new responsibility, new expectations. And I've said it here, let me say it again, where people marry, but they are still single. They are behaving single, their mindset is single, everything is single. You're not accommodating another person in your life. I have also said it, let me say it again, that once we don't understand that marriage is actually service to one another. When you get into marriage, you have to be more interested in your partner, what makes them happy, what they expect, than what you expect. Now, just imagine if two people woke up and they said, how can I be a good wife to my husband? I pray that
and
prayer.
Vice versa, yes.
I say, please, Lord, show me what I can do to be a good wife to this man. Now, because I need to be mindful of what makes him when I say makes them happy, that takes a conversation in another direction. But what are the expectations of this person? We talk about love language. What is this person? What energizes them in this marriage?
How can you serve them?
How can I serve them? How can I serve them? What makes them feel respected, for instance? You see, sometimes we do things and say, but I do this, do that. But is that what makes your partner feel respected, feel loved,
it's not about
feel secure? It's not about you. Now, unfortunately, when we get into marriage, everyone is looking for
their way.
Their way. Yes. So you have a basket and you're just taking away, me. And then the basket runs dry. So if we paid attention to that, then issues of boundaries, you would then know what makes my partner secure. You see? And it could be things you've never thought about.
Never thought of, yes.
And it varies from person to person, because again, remember when we marry, I've mentioned here that we shouldn't marry a stranger. You see, every person has a history. There are people who have a trauma-informed history.
That's true.
So they've suffered trauma, they've suffered adversity, childhood adversity, they've suffered rejection, they've suffered so many things. Now that person is going to be more insecure. Right? Now, have you taken time to understand? If someone has grown up in a broken family, for instance, where they've seen where the parents have abandoned them, they have an anxious attachment, they are here, and now they are worried about rejection. They carry that anxious attachment to the relationship. And then you expect them to be 100% secure. You're like, what's wrong with you? I'm just. And I've told people, please pay attention to things you call just. Just.
Because to somebody else.
To somebody else, they are big.
Yeah.
So Rachel, that casualness, number one, where we keep single. You're not accommodating the interests, the fears. When we marry someone, we marry them with their everything. If they have a baggage, you carry it. You're not going to be selective in what you carry. Get. No, this is the whole person. If they have a history of trauma, of whatever, sorry, it comes with them. And you have to be mindful of that. And so if they have that insecurity they've carried, you cannot wish it away. So it's very important that then we know. And then we don't run casual, and we don't run generic, saying other women are other men. No, this is the person you have married.
Yep.
So that casualness from that standpoint, but also inability to transform and be a different person. When you're single, you behave a certain way. When you're married, you behave a certain way.
Yes, yes.
You see, you behave a certain way. When I was growing up, I grew up in between boys. You see, I follow a boy, my two brothers who follow me, boys, and so I grew up in between boys. And I enjoyed boy relationships. And I don't want to expose myself so much, but I had tomboy tendencies for a long time.
Yes.
Because I grew up with boys, and because of that, I related more with the opposite sex. You know, closely with the opposite. Even growing up, even uni, I had boys who were my friends. But now when I started dating, I had to be very careful.
Yeah.
You know, that I don't start saying, oh, Pade, oh,
they've always been my friends. That's how I am.
So now you have to be careful.
Yeah.
But because we are casual, and then when your partner complains, then you gaslight them. What's wrong with you? We're sorting it, you know. And
then continue with that relationship. Yes.
And then we don't pay attention to that complaint. We don't try to understand it. Yeah, we listen to defend ourselves, not to understand, and then we get dismissive.
Yeah.
So that casualness is a problem.
It is.
It is a problem.
It is. And you know, we've talked about infidelity on this show, and more likely than not, infidelity will happen with those kinds of friends, because you're spending a lot of time with them, you're sharing information about your life and your marriage with them. So maybe to speak to what are the risks in continuing with these kinds of relationships, especially if you are dismissive of your partner's concerns, you are continuing to place this person in a very special category in your heart over and above your wife or your husband.
You see, Rachel, marriage is not about a ring. And I respect ring. That's a sign of covenant.
Yes.
Very important. But you see, this doesn't mean much. In any case, I've had people say unmarried girls are looking for men with rings because they get more committed.
There you go.
You know, this, I don't know how to call it, but casualness again. But look, relationships are about connection. Connection is about emotional investment. The time you spend, but also the mental investment, the thoughts that we put into something. Then they are going to determine connection.
That's true.
I can be here with my partner, but actually my mind is with someone else.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, my mind, my mental resources are somewhere else. And so every day, so that's number one. But number two, the things we do every day. In psychology, we say something you do every day becomes your habit, especially if you do it consistently for 21 days. Yeah, there's power in 3 weeks.
Clearly.
So now if you wake up, if your thoughts are towards another person, your time, your chatting, your gifts are towards social media. And then people say, WhatsApp has spoiled marriages, but it's not WhatsApp, it's you. And then your other resources, your gifts are towards another one. You're going to work, you slept with your partner, but you can't wait to wake up, to go to office
and interact
with your
best
colleague,
friend.
your best friend.
Yeah.
Let's not fool ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's about emotional investment. It's about investment of our other resources, the time and all. It's about the words.
The words, yes.
The words.
Yes.
You know, your partner has never heard you call them by these sweet, intimate words. But you're directing them towards other people. Hi, sweetheart. You know, we can really fake it. And it doesn't, by the way, look good on us.
No.
If the only time you say good things are with other people, it's not a good sign on you. It doesn't look good on you because it's a sign of low self-esteem. If you can't make investments in the what we call vital core relationships, which is marriage and your children, and the things you're saying, your emotional attachment is towards outsiders, most likely you have a problem. Wow. So I'm saying this now as a clinical psychologist, because then it's a sign of low esteem, low confidence, and so we try to invest in areas where people know us less. You understand? Where people know you, it's risky. So you're like, let me just go where I can act.
Yes. Where there's no accountability.
Where there's no accountability.
Wow.
And by the way, be careful who you are in the public space and check whether there is
the inconsistency.
There is consistency. Wow. And if there is dissonance, then there is a problem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and most of the time, we are so horrible in our private relationships and so wonderful in the public space. And then you just want the public, which knows so little about you.
Only what you presented to them.
To validate you.
Wow.
So that's why people are so nice. That's why they spend so much money buying acceptance in the public space, and then they deprive their private core relationships.
I'll never understand that.
It's not, so it's a disorder of sorts.
It's a disorder of sorts, yes.
It's a disorder of sorts.
So we started off this conversation by talking about boundaries and expectations. Let's say there's a couple or one half of a couple that is watching, and this is a thorn in their marriage currently, that their partner has a best friend or a friend, may not even be best friend, it must be a friend that they are investing so much time and emotions with. They have raised the issue several times and their partner keeps dismissing them. What are some things or boundaries that can be set in the event that they manage to have a civil conversation? What are some boundaries that people can set to still have healthy relationships with men and women outside of their marriage and also still protect their partner?
Okay, so I'll answer that, but I realize I didn't even answer the previous
question.
Conclusively. Number one is that I mentioned emotional investment. Now let me tell you, where you invest your emotions is where you're going to go. And you said, is this a danger to the relationship? Yes. Can people develop affairs?
Yeah.
100%. Because you see, every time you connect, that's why I was talking about connection. Once we connect with someone, where do we end?
With them.
With them. Remember, emotions have no logic. Emotions have no logic on their own. That's why we have to run emotions by our logical brains and ask ourselves, now where is this relationship going? So if you find you're getting closer to someone, we ran a session on workplace intimate relationships.
Yes.
And you remember I told you, the moment you keep sending resources here, sending a word, saying certain things, they are connecting with the heart. And before you know, the heart is going to go to the bed.
To the bed, yeah.
You see? So we have to be very careful that we don't run casual and say, I'm just saying, I'm just appreciating. You know? Yesterday, I had a client who came into my office, very first client at 8 o'clock. And when he came in, he sat, and then he said, "Ooh, you look so fine. You look so polished this morning." And he said, "You look fresh."
Okay.
And then I said, "Thank you." And then he followed it up and he said, "Is that a problem?"
So he knew it was a problem.
I said, "What?
Why would you say
that? What is
that?
a problem?"
Yes.
Then he said, "My wife is accusing me of complimenting." And then I said, "Why are they accusing you?" So boundaries.
Yeah.
Now, it's very important for us to know that emotional resources, if not managed well, are going to make you make certain decisions. And especially emotional decisions. If you make decisions based on how you feel, then you're likely to end in affairs.
In affairs, yes.
That happens 100%.
That's true.
So you asked, how can, if your partner is dismissive, but let me begin with, if your partner understands.
And they're willing to have a conversation.
Conversation.
Yes.
And this is what we are advocating for. Please, when your partner raises an issue, don't dismiss it.
However ridiculous it sounds.
However ridiculous it sounds, try to understand it from their perspective. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? Maybe they are seeing it from a place where you had not thought about, which you hadn't thought about. So don't get dismissive and say, are you okay? Is your brain working okay? Don't be dismissive.
Yeah.
They probably are seeing things you're not seeing.
That's true.
And especially when we are emotionally involved in certain things, most of the time we are not seeing things a certain way.
Yeah.
You see, as we say, you can't see a whole picture if you're in the frame. Sometimes when we are emotionally involved, we are framed up.
Yeah.
And so it's important, very important, to calm down and say, where is that coming from? Okay? very important. And when you understand, then you can set boundaries, because now, once again, you're understanding an expectation on your partner, from your partner. What are they expecting you to do when you're relating with this person? Maybe you're going overboard. We do that. How about if you asked that if someone does not understand?
Yeah.
It becomes a problem.
Yeah.
It becomes a problem. And in most cases, it's an act of selfishness. Because if your partner has raised an issue and you choose to ignore it, maybe it's ridiculous. But does it mean you ignore it?
No.
No. That's why we are helpers to each other.
Yeah.
Help her, help him. Right? Please avoid just. Because every time we say I'm just, you're seeing things from your perspective, and you're not considering your partner. So please pay attention to that. And if you think your partner has a problem, has insecurities that are not justifiable, then still it's your responsibility to support them.
To help them. And I like that you say that, because yes, I may raise an issue with my partner and it's ridiculous. But rather than say you're being ridiculous, maybe help me see how I'm being ridiculous in a loving way. You know, like say, okay, where is this coming from? Ask me questions like, why do you feel like that? Have I given you reason to feel insecure? Like, this person is my friend, maybe I've known them for 10, 15 years. Why are you feeling this way? You know, as opposed to, this person is my friend, I have known them all these years, you don't expect me to cut them off. You know, and basically saying what you're feeling is your feeling, you deal with it. I remember having a conversation with my husband, and this kind of leads me to my next question. Were you done with your response?
No, yeah. Go ahead and share.
Yes, so I remember having a conversation with him, and he was telling me sometimes, I guess, I don't know if it's like the casualness of it, or like they just don't see anything wrong with it. So he was telling me, like, you'll make a compliment to someone and say, oh, that's a very beautiful dress, as opposed to, you look smart today, or you look great today. And I said, some people, because you're coming innocently and saying, complimenting someone else might take that compliment to heart and begin to form an attachment with you, which you never intended to start. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so yes, it does. And I hear you. And I don't know whether it's an issue with this country. We don't know how to take compliments and separate them from other things. What's wrong with having a beautiful dress?
There's nothing wrong.
Now, I've heard men who will say, like they're there, and then someone says, man, you look good. And then they say, I was refusing to say because...
Auntie, you are married, just in case.
I think it's being lousy.
Yeah.
Because, you see, compliments are compliments.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Rachel, let's not confuse ourselves. A compliment that is genuine will be understood.
That's true.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
I love to be authentic and real. And I say things and I compliment people.
Yes, you do.
I do. I compliment people. It's in my nature to appreciate beauty and to compliment people. And to be honest with you, I've never been accused of someone saying, why are you telling me that? That's, you see, that's a lousy way of looking at things. However, I'll tell you what, when you mentioned that, it reminded me of some people, for instance, women who are also too much, or some men who are also too much. Like every little thing threatens
their marriage.
Threatens their marriage. Why did you tell? You see, so if it is genuine, you haven't come with your partner, you didn't say anything, and then all of a sudden you see someone, you're like, oh man, you look good.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell your partner? But then if it is genuine, like my husband knows, I appreciate people. I'll look at someone and go, man, that's a cool suit. Wow, you look good. And there are no attachment, there are no
Attachments.
emotions that
Yeah.
are carrying this. I'm just appreciating beauty. So it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I really want to ask people, be real.
Yeah.
Don't be fake.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, be authentic.
Be authentic.
Yes.
If you're authentic, your partner has the ability to understand and differentiate a genuine compliment
And
and
one that
one
is
where you have crossed boundaries.
Boundaries.
When we get married, we all have a responsibility, personal responsibility to build trust. Okay? However, what our partners do and what they don't do can actually affect and increase our insecurities.
That's true.
Right? But every person has work to do on themselves. That's why I ask people, probably your insecurity is not going to be resolved by your partner, entirely by your partner. That's why
hard,
we do therapy.
Yeah.
You have a baggage. You have insecurities from which you got from your parents' marriage.
That's true.
Right? This is not going to be resolved by your partner. This can be resolved by therapy.
Working on yourself.
Working on yourself.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Because I like that the statement you made earlier, where the conversation that happens, someone is able to find out and say,
Where is it
is
coming
there anything I did that you felt? So there are certain insecurities we just feel on our own.
That's true.
Okay? But there are certain insecurities that are actually caused by our partners.
That's true.
Right?
So we all need to check ourselves.
So we all need to check ourselves. And if there is very good conversation, if your relationship permits conversation, any insecurity can be resolved. Even when you check, when you have good conversation and you find your partner suffers trauma, wherever insecurities they inherited from, I don't know where, you actually also can help them to get over this and say, no, but that's me. That was your dad.
Yes, I'm different.
I'm
from your
different.
dad. Yeah.
I'm different.
Yeah.
And then you keep assuring and reassuring. Now, some people say, that's too much. So if you don't want to do that job,
So who is going
to do it? That's your partner.
Yes.
And by the way, to say, once we get dismissive, we make the problem worse. Because this mind processes everything. Now, what you have said, this person is also going to make meaning out of it. And they'll say, if there was something genuine, they would have assured me. But now they have dismissed.
Yes.
So don't create more work,
More
problems in your partner. Sit and pay attention. That's the partner you have.
It's the one you chose.
That's the one you chose.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem, it's going to be your problem in marriage. You see? And doesn't matter whether they've got it where, if you do not help to resolve it, it's just going to continually be there.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that. And I like that you've addressed that there's going to be insecurities which you will have to resolve by yourself. And then there's those where, your partner is expected to some degree to support you through those insecurities. My final question to you, Dr. Ivas. Usually when a couple, is having this challenge, one of two things is going to happen. If they are a sensible couple and they're going to have conversations, they'll probably talk about boundaries, expectations, that sort of thing. Or they could talk about completely cutting off this person. And I know many people don't want to let go of their relationships just because their spouse is uncomfortable. How can couples then identify relationships that could pose a risk to their marriage? And how do they go about then establishing boundaries? Are there instances where, for example, someone needs to completely cut off a person because it's threatening their marriage?
Yes. Yes, Rachel.
Yes.
So you see, who is crossing the boundaries? Sometimes it's the partner, sometimes it's an external person crossing.
This is true.
For instance, when you were talking, I remembered people who call people's partners at midnight.
Late in the night.
Late in the night. what business are you discussing?
He's my friend.
He's my friend. And I want to tell you, Rachel, these are dangerous practices. And when this happens, now whenever this happens, the partner here is put in a horrible situation where they have to protect their marriage, but also protect the relationship on the other end. Now, most of the time, because when we marry, we take our partners for granted. So we feel we can suffocate the one at home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you don't have the nerve
to call off the other.
To call off the other person.
Yeah. Thank you once again for joining us on this conversation. Let us know what has stood out for you. If there's any lesson that you have picked from this episode, we'll be back next week with another conversation. In the meantime, remember to subscribe. Remember to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Leave us a comment, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when we drop an episode. Stay well, stay healthy, and keep it reality check. Bye-bye.